Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann radio program, brought to you by you, our listeners, supporting our show, supporting your radio station, and supporting our sponsors. And let them know that you're listening. Okay, that was an interesting pop quiz, or pop poll, straw poll, progressive straw poll, I guess we could call it. There were 9 C's, which was kind of the median, because the above C's, the A's and the B's, there was a total of 10 of those above the C, and below the C, there were 11 D's and F's. So we had 7 A's, 3 B's, 9 C's, 8 D's, and 4 F's. But the trend that I find really interesting is that there was 9 in the middle, the C's, 10 above C's, and 11 below C's. And so I think that, it frankly reflects in many ways how I'm feeling about President Obama, which is, in some areas, giving speeches, great. Doing small things around the edges, great. Some of his appointments, very good. Not being George Bush, oh my God, the skies have opened. But actually making sure that every American has health insurance, has health care, has not even insurance. Forget the word, strike the word insurance from that sentence. Making sure that every American has health care, I don't know. Pushing back against the banksters. So far, I'm not seeing. The biggest banks in America are bragging about the fact that they have now refied 8 homes, 9 homes, 12 homes, 16 homes. I mean, come on. And Citibank now says they're going to be the last of the big banks to pay back the TARP money so that the banksters can go back to giving themselves hundreds of billions of dollars. They don't make a thing worth of value. Just like the health insurance so-called companies don't make one thing of value. In fact, BBC, reporting this morning, Martin Schenkelman, the employment correspondent for the BBC, research done by a think tank called the New Economics Foundation in the United Kingdom, and they're reporting all this in pounds, but I'll simply transpose dollars because they're all relative numbers. So just to make it easy for my American listeners. The research carried out by the think tank New Economic Foundation found hospital cleaners create $10 of value for every dollar they're paid. Right? The reason why is that they play a vital role in the working of healthcare facilities. They not only clean hospitals and maintain hygiene standards, but they also contribute to the wider health outcomes for every dollar paid. Over $10 of social value is created. On the other hand, bankers destroy $7 worth of value for every $1 they earn. And senior advertising executives not much better. The elite banker, rather than be wealth creators, bankers are being handsomely rewarded for bringing the global financial system to the brink of collapse. Pay between £500,000 and £80 million a year. That would be, almost $1 million to $100 million, $130 million a year. Leading bankers destroy $7 of value, or 7 pounds of value for every pound they generate. Child care workers, both for families and societies as a whole, looking after children could not be more important, as well as providing a valuable service for families. They release earnings potential by allowing parents to continue working. For every dollar they're paid, they generate $9.50 worth of value to society. Our priorities are all screwed up. They're upside down. The banksters have taken over. The banksters have taken over the healthcare industry. The banksters have taken over the banking industry. The banksters need to be put in, if not in jail, at least in close restraint. Over the weekend, I read a book called Snakes in Suits. It's written by 2 psychologists, and it was about psychopaths in the workplace. And the argument that they make in this book is that the corporate culture in America, the go-go, unrestrained corporate culture, lends itself to psychopathology. Now, let me take it a step further. I would submit to you that the corporate form itself is psychopathological, is sociopathic. Now, here's why. A person without a conscience is a psychopath. or a sociopath, or a person with narcissistic personality disorder, whatever. I mean, there's a variety of ways to describe these things, but in these two psychologists in this book, Snakes in Suits, are using the word psychopath. A person without a conscience. In other words, they lack a regulating mechanism. They don't have that internal regulating system that keeps them within the boundaries of normal, healthy behavior, and so they are psychopaths. I would submit to you that a corporation without the conscience, the equivalent of a conscience, that being regulation by we the people, is also a psychopath. And this country has been taken over by psychopaths. Our corporations have been taken over by psychopaths. And our politicians, in many cases, have been taken over by psychopaths. And in fact, many of our politicians are psychopaths. And increasingly, I am convinced that Joe Lieberman is one of them. People without conscience. People who are willing to allow others to die so that they can benefit. The banksters running these so-called health insurance companies that are taking home tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation. And every single penny of it is the result of somebody being told, no, sorry, you don't qualify for that operation. The members of the United States House of Representatives and Senate who are taking money from these gangsters, from these psychopaths, who themselves then are behaving psychopathically, and who are telling me when they come on the program, no, I don't think that there's any way that we could have a national health care program. We have a national mental illness problem. And it's that psychopathology that is because our corporations are lacking a conscience, and and they're not supposed to have consciences, right? Corporations, the corporate form does not include a conscience. The conscience is government regulation. It's us defining the rules within which they operate, the same way that with a normal person, their conscience defines the rules within which they operate. So that when they walk into a store, their conscience tells them not to just stick things in their pockets and walk out of the store. Even if they know that they won't get caught, their conscience tells them not to do it. I was at a store the other day. I paid a guy some in cash, and he was lousy at making change, and he gave me $1 too much change. And I looked at it, and I immediately realized he'd given me $1 too much change. I took the dollar and I handed it back to him. I said, you gave me $1 too much change. He says, no, I didn't. And I said, yes, you did. And I counted it backwards for me. He goes, oh, thank you. He realized, I mean, I didn't do that out of the hope for, going to heaven. I mean, that's just, it was the right thing to do. There's an internal regulating mechanism that normal people have called a conscience. Corporations lack that, so we have to provide it to them. It's called regulations. Instead, corporations are claiming human rights. They want the rights of persons, but they don't have the conscience of persons. And so increasingly we live in a sociopathic society that is run by sociopaths to the benefit of sociopaths and psychopaths, and they are taking over our political system. And frankly, the fastest way to put a stop to it is to regain control of the Supreme Court and get some of these cases before the court that can roll back Buckley versus Vallejo, roll back First National Bank versus Bilotti, roll back Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad, roll back those Supreme Court cases where an unelected body of men who were, in some cases, I mean, going back to the cases that were passed in the 1800s, who were actually on the take from the railroad gangsters, from Harriman and Gould and the whole bunch of them there, these very, very wealthy men who literally were paying bribes to the Supreme Court. And we know this now. It's part of the historical record. Stephen Field on the Supreme Court, in the U.S. Supreme Court in 1886, taking bribes from the railroads. They were telling him they would put him up for United States for president if he would help them get corporate personhood. We've got to get the Supreme Court back. Which means over the short term holding our nose and voting for Democrats even when they, like my member of Congress, Kurt Schrader, who just voted against financial regulation. I mean, how bad does it get? Well, hey, you got to get some campaign donations if you're going to run for election. Okay, I get it. It's a sick and twisted world. Let's Let's fix it. We can fix it. We, the people, can fix it. We can push these guys. We can push them really hard. And we can work to as I said, this is why it's so important that we not give up and that we not walk away. Because the year 2012 is coming, and that presidential election is probably going to be the most important one in any of our lifetimes, because it is probably going to determine the future of the Supreme Court. Because I'm guessing that between 2012 and 2016, Scalia, at the very least, is going to be old enough. Several of these guys on the right are going to be old enough that they're going to be moving on out. And you do not want a Republican in the White House when that happens.